How much work is reasonable to expect from interns? Next week, I am receiving 1 or 2 university-level engineering interns for the next 5 months. I, lacking experience with interns, I am unsure how much time they will likely require for project spin-up, education of our lab and technology, and delivering meaningful work. I fully expect half of our time together will be knowledge transfer with no meaningful work being produced. Meanwhile, I do expect some meaningful work to be delivered, not just to make my time investment have some gain, but for the interns to walk away with accomplishment. Please share opinions or experiences. So, before I go into my answer, I saw another really good answer, and I realized that I didn't even copy the name of the person that gave it. So, let me find it because it was so good, and I don't want this person to lose it. So, here it is. Don't lose focus on how much they have to learn beyond the technical skills. Here are some of the challenges I've seen my placement students have to get to grips with. 1. How to do open-ended investigation that someone hasn't already planned out for you. Remember, all the problems that they've solved at this point, unless they've done projects, have been assignments that have been planned out for them by a textbook or by their professor. 2. How to cope and recover when you get to dead ends. 3. How to manage their time without obvious deadlines on timescales longer than a few weeks. What to do when no one has the answer. How to brief colleagues who haven't been sitting in the same lectures studying the same things as you, so how to effectively communicate what they're working on. How to work with people of different ages and backgrounds, especially when there is a feeling of seniority. How to manage generational and seniority differences in the meaning of phone call versus email versus instant message. How to secure time with busy people and use it usefully. Learning business tone of voice for emails and other communications. Writing and communicating for a specific targeted purpose rather than to hit a marking brief. How to deal with bureaucracy and IT delays. How to assess their own progress and get a feel for how they're doing. How to communicate with their supervisor about their progress and how they're doing. They're used to getting a grade back on an essay, not necessarily following up on it. How to maintain a sense of accomplishment without a series of grades and numbers to provide reassurance that they're progressing. How your company's procedures work for requesting information, writing things up, and a myriad of other processes. How their team is structured and how it interacts with other groups and functions. How to manage holidays, health appointments, and other responsibilities around the working day. Living outside the sheltered bubble of a student-focused environment. Adjusting to new physical and sensory situations such as temperature, clothing, and open-plan offices. As your supervisor, you have to think of these things because most of them the student won't even realize are things that need to be learned. Exactly. They are firmly in the unconscious incompetence stage, yes, and moving from that to conscious incompetence, then on further still, can be a scary time. And I just thought that was a great piece of advice. So I say all that to say that you ask how much work is reasonable to expect from interns. I would expect a net 0 level of production, unless you have very specific easy tasks productivity tasks, how to maybe note taking and taking action items and running the context of meetings. The work that you can expect from interns is, in my opinion, pretty minimal, unless again there's specifically designed tasks. I'd say that in my internships that I worked in, about half of my time, this was my structured internship, half of my time was spent shadowing other people and doing a little bit of work, and the other half of my time was spent working on my company's internship project, which is a project they had all the interns work on. There's going to be a few moments. I'd say that they'll be able to count the things that they can do on maybe 2 hands of the number of things that they provided really meaningful input to the team if it's just one summer. There's just going to be they're going to be, in my opinion, probably a lot slower than the average new hire. Maybe think about somebody that you've worked with in the past you hired out of college that had no internship experience. How long it took them to get spun up and figure out what it was like to work in a professional environment. That's how long it'll take these interns. It might even take them the entire summer to get to that point. So, yeah, I wouldn't expect them to do too much, but you're going to have to be really selective and give them some really simple tasks and then work your way up from there based on how they're handling those simple tasks. And that's how you can gauge how much work they'll be able to accomplish. But it wouldn't take too much. Some other good responses I want to read through on here. Expect them to take twice as long and usually done incorrectly after all they're learning and new to the industry and new to working probably. Focus on providing them opportunities to experience various parts of the work and building fundamentals. Teach them how to have fun at work and how to work with others. And again, a big part of internship experiences is how to work in that corporate or that machine shop or in that manufacturing facility or in that refinery culture. That's what the internship is really figuring out how to be a contributor in those cultures. Next one, baseline is to expect to break even, so they're in line with me. They may not produce anything more than what you could have produced if you spent your time on the work rather than training or answering questions. It's like more of an extended job interview in my experience. Again, your company's making an investment by hiring these interns. That said, a good intern will be able to produce something useful that will be a net gain overall. At least in my experience, programming and automation projects are a good way to get something useful out of interns in a way that benefits you while they learn about work and process of the job. Your mileage may vary, though. Another one is, again, have the interns maybe, whenever they're first starting out, take action items and during meetings, have them be the one that, kind of like a junior project manager, have them being the one to follow up with people on those action items and maybe shadow those people as they're working on those action items. And then, you can start getting them cued into helping assist with some of these action items as well. Internship project, one project, 40 hours a week, most of which will require training and guidance and handholding at every step. This one's really cool. If they use software to do their job, ask them to create a detailed how-to for running the software for their basic tasks. Then they'll have a guide for themselves to refer back to. Also, if you have a subject matter expert on your team that you've been reaching out to and you're like, hey, any kind of departmental initiatives that might not necessarily be directly related to the work product. Again, the interns want to be in the work product, but sometimes they just can't quite contribute. So understanding the procedures and the platforms and the softwares you use will help them and give them an opportunity to then eventually contribute to those things. So, for example, if you're working on design reviews and you don't have a procedure written for how design reviews go, maybe the intern can sit in on that and help draft the procedure. Or if you're onboarding a new software, like a new modeling software for a process simulation or some specialty software, have the intern shadow the SME that's working on that software and then capture what the most important aspects for a new person that might have to do work in that software or take work out of that software, whatever it's used for. Have that intern shadowing that SME to fully understand what somebody new would need to understand. And if that person can explain it to the intern and the intern can understand the how-to that they're doing, then it's a really good how-to for your team. And, again, these are just really good responses. I thought that it would be a shame if I left them out. I was reading through them and I just thought it was really nice, so I figured I would share them. Thanks for watching this segment of the Engineering Success Podcast. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. All those things really help me out. They boost me up in the YouTube algorithm and they'll help other people see this great content. Make sure to recommend the podcast to your friends. You can listen to it on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you get your podcasts content from. And make sure you leave me 5-star reviews, like all my videos, and consider subscribing on Patreon or Anchor. All those things help me out, and I really appreciate it. Catch you in the next one.
Never losing focus because I ain't chasing payments. Still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries, thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify, they put me on the station.